Hey mamas, I'm Brooke Miller, registered dietitian, certified lactation counselor, and a mama who's helped hundreds of moms feel like themselves again after baby, boost their energy, mood, metabolism, and even milk supply. Inside of the Postpartum Shift podcast, you'll learn how to take care of your health so that you can show up best for the ones you care about most. Each week, we'll tackle topics like nutrition, exercise, breastfeeding, mental health, and so much more. Plus, you'll get access to guest experts who will share ways to make your pregnancy and postpartum experience easier. Whether you're approaching the postpartum period or you're right in the thick of it, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about how I broke up with mom guilt. And this is for you if you struggle with feeling mom guilt, especially when it comes to taking care of your health, whether it's your mental health or physical health. So back in the day when I had my first son, I hit this breaking point. I had been taking care of him and his health. It was around his open heart surgery date. I was so fixated on pumping and making enough milk for him and making sure that, he was getting all of his oxygen and his therapies and being in the, NICU and just all of that. And I wasn't allowing myself to have a break, to go for a walk by myself, to even get back into working out, which is something that I love doing. Even eating alone, I just felt like I didn't have the time, to set aside to eat. I just had to make sure that he was well fed. And I hit this breaking point where I just, I had a lot of anxiety and overwhelm, and I was just hit this breaking point. And I know there's a lot of moms out there who have hit similar breaking points where you feel like it's impossible to take care of your health and take care of your kids. And I used to feel a lot of guilt for wanting space, for wanting to be alone, for wanting to be with my friends, for wanting a date night with my husband without having a baby there. And, I felt guilty that I didn't want to spend every waking moment with my children and that I needed a break. And I realized that guilt doesn't mean that I'm doing something wrong. It just means that I'm human. And as humans, we need time to ourselves. We need time alone. We need time with our spouse. We need time that is kid-free. And if we're trying to do it all and take care of ourselves and take care of our kids, it can be a lot. And so some things that have come up for me around mom guilt is really looking at the unrealistic expectations from society and a lot of the unrealistic expectations that I placed on myself, the social pressure. And, even some of this comes from how we were brought up or how we were raised or what our friends are doing. And, it was a lot. So when I had my first son, I had to go back to my clinical job. And in order to do that, around 6 months of age, he had to go into daycare. And it was unfortunately a really bad daycare experience. Needless to say, they weren't very accepting of him having special needs or needing tummy time, basic things that all babies need. And so that was really hard. There was a lot of meltdowns, and I felt this crazy feeling I felt so much guilt for going back to my job. I felt so much guilt for dropping him off at daycare, especially a daycare like that. And so we pulled him out of there very quickly. And luckily we were able to find a lady on our street who just took care of a few kids. And my job was pretty flexible. I was working from home as a clinical dietitian. And so it was pretty flexible with when I would drop him off and then he would nap there and then I would pick him up and finish work and my husband would be home. And so then he would hang out with my husband while I finished work. And we ended up finding kind of a rhythm and a balance. And I still had this guilt that I was carrying for still wanting to have a career and wanting to be a mom and also wanting to have something that I could focus on for myself. I wanted to have something where I could talk to adults and something that really challenged me in a way that motherhood didn't challenge me. And motherhood is the hardest thing I've ever done. Motherhood is the most challenging thing I've ever done. And I also wanted something that challenged me in a completely different way because I feel like motherhood challenges you in ways that a job just can't. And I also feel like a job can challenge you in a way that's just different than motherhood. And so I felt a lot of guilt for wanting to still have a career. I felt a lot of guilt for wanting to go for a walk alone, work out, eat a meal by myself, hang out with my girlfriends, have date night with my husband. And I realized that guilt wasn't serving me. It wasn't helpful at all. Like that, having guilt, having shame, anything like that, those emotions, those feelings do not help you reach your goals. They do not help you show up as a better mom. If you've been wanting to reach your healthiest weight and feel like yourself again postpartum without having to sacrifice your favorite foods or your milk supply, I've got a free workshop just for you. Inside of this free workshop, you'll discover how to boost energy, mood, metabolism, and even protect your milk supply. You'll learn common mistakes that moms make that actually cause exhaustion, mood swings, low milk supply, and weight loss resistance to become worse, things that moms don't even realize. And you'll learn the proven 3-step method to heal your hormones and metabolism after baby so you can go from surviving to thriving postpartum. Plus, as a free gift, you'll get my postpartum snack guide when you come hang out with us. All you have to do is click the link in the show notes to save your seat today. Spots are limited. See you there. And so I had to really reframe this, and I had to reframe my guilt as a sign of my values of, I feel guilty because I know my family is a value and I feel like I can't do both. And so I really had to reframe it to, I can be a good mom and I can also have a career. I can be a good mom and need a break from being a mom, like getting some time alone. I can be a good mom and, have date night with my husband. And those were some things that I really had to shift for me. And what I ended up realizing was when I reframed this and I shifted into that mentality and I started taking care of my mental health and going to therapy and working out and nourishing my body, I started to realize that I was actually able to show up so much better for those around me. I actually was happier. I was more patient. I was more present when I was with my kids. I felt more like me again, and I started to realize that it wasn't necessarily the quantity of time that I had with my baby. It was really the quality of time that I had with my baby that was most important to me. And so I really focused on setting boundaries around when I was working and when I was with my kids. And I'm still working on this. It is really hard, especially now that I own my own business. It's really, really hard for me to do this. And so I'm actively trying to set time aside where I am working and I'm in my office and I'm by myself, and then times where I'm with my kids. And so today was one of those days where I brought my kids to the pool. It's really hot right now. So I brought my kids to the pool for an hour and I didn't have my phone with me. And we just swam and ate snacks. And then we did a grocery pickup and then ate lunch. And then I put them down for naps. And I was like, okay, mommy has to work now. Just setting those boundaries with, okay, this is kid time when I'm present. And this is time when mommy needs to do something for her. And then I also today, usually I work out without my kids, but today one of my 2-year-old was down for a nap and my baby was just waking up from a nap when I was about to work out. So I brought her downstairs and I brought some toys out and I did a 30-minute strength workout while she was with me, and I included her in my workout, and it was a little messy. But I had to just be flexible because I knew for my mental health, I knew I needed to lift weights today and get a workout in. It was way too hot to go for a walk like we normally do, but I still wanted to move my body. And so I didn't want to push it back. I didn't want to skip it. And so I just included her, and she had so much fun. She had fun watching me. She crawled on me for a little bit. She played next to me. And then once we were done with the workout, it was about ready for her to go down for another nap. And I just want any mom to know, like, if you're feeling guilt about taking care of your health, or you're feeling guilt about needing time alone or needing a break or asking for help, just know that you are probably going to show up as a much better mom, a more present mom, a more happy mom, a more energetic mom when you do take care of yourself. And it's not necessarily about the quantity of time that we have with our family or whatever our values are. It's more about the quality. Like I would personally choose to spend 2 hours with my kids that's at the park or at the pool or like uninterrupted where we're having fun and we're doing something fun, and then come home and say, okay, now it's time for mommy to work. You need to go take a nap, and to have that break versus trying to work without really being present with my kids. You know, it's really hard to kind of set those boundaries. But when you do set those boundaries and you realize that all of these things are important, something that you can do actually is write down what are your top values. And for some moms listening, you may be a stay-at-home mom and say like, you know what, right now, my top core value is raising kids or homeschooling kids. And if that's you, then that's incredible. And you still also need a break, you know, especially if you are home with kids all day, like you are going to need a break, whether that is literally just a coffee date with a girlfriend once a week. Maybe that is when somebody comes home or a spouse comes home and you say, hey, I need 10 minutes to just be in a room alone, or I need a hot bath at the end of the night, or I need to just go for a walk alone. If you are raising kids, if you are home with kids all day, you definitely need some sort of break for yourself every single day. And then if you want to do something a little bigger for yourself, maybe like I said, a coffee date or a brunch date or a date night, something bigger once a week is always a great thing too. And even just really figuring out what it is in your house and what it is that you like doing and what you want to delegate. So for me, I don't mind cleaning at all, but I hate laundry. My husband likes laundry. So for the most part, he does laundry and I'll do the other cooking and cleaning and picking up throughout the house. And then cooking, he does a lot of cooking because he really loves it, but it really depends on our schedule. You know, I feel like lately it's been pretty 50-50 with who's cooking what, and especially summer, it's a lot of grilling out now and smoking meat on the smoker and kind of batching some of those things. So, just kind of realizing like, what is it that you like doing as a mom? What do you like doing around your household? And then what things don't you enjoy doing? And then can you outsource some of those to either somebody else in your family or even somebody outside of your family? You know, we have somebody that comes in and deep cleans, twice a month, and it's just cleaning the toilets and mopping the floors and the things that I truly can't get to on a day-to-day basis. Like I'm so good at picking up and keeping things clean and tidy. But, you know, if I'm honest, if they weren't coming in, we would go months without the floors being mopped. And we would probably go weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks without the bathrooms being like fully deep cleaned. And so for me, I know that that's something I value. Like a clean house is something that helps me function. If there's a lot of clutter or chaos, I get really anxious and stressed out. And especially working from home, I know that in order for me to be productive and to get stuff done at work, I know that that is a value of mine. But I also have friends and family that having a clean and tidy house is like not a top value for them, and mess or chaos, like it doesn't bother them. It doesn't mess with their mental health and they can function just fine. And so for them, like, you know, that's totally fine too. We're all so different and unique. So it's really about trying to determine what are your values when it comes to work, when it comes to family, when it comes to your household, and then letting go of that guilt and asking, what types of things do I need to do for myself so that I can show up as a happy, healthy, and present mom? And a lot of times that means doing things for our physical and mental health. That might mean therapy. That might mean going for a walk. That might mean eating a balanced meal. That might mean eating, you know, a snack. That might mean telling one of your kids, hey, hold on, honey, mommy needs to get herself a snack too. And then we can eat together, versus always catering to our kids whenever they want something. Because if it was up to my 2-year-old, he would demand a lot of things and he would get it whenever he wanted. And there's so many times throughout the day where I'm like, hey, honey, hold on. Mommy also needs to get her snack, or mommy also needs to get her water. You need to hang on a second. And I'm trying to teach him that boundary and the patience, and also just modeling to him that, yes, I'm getting you food, and also mommy needs to eat too. And you know, mommy needs to also take care of herself too. So I'm trying to model that for my children as well. So I hope that you can let go of just any mom guilt that you have, and just know that you are doing the best you can with what you have. And if you need extra help, if you are relying on others, then that's amazing. That is truly how moms are going to thrive and go from surviving to thriving, is asking for help and making time for the things that are important. And yeah, just truly releasing the guilt and having a lot of compassion for yourself. So I am cheering for you, and I'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to the Postpartum Shift podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could share this episode with a mom friend and leave a written review. This helps the podcast reach and help even more moms. Come say hi over on Instagram at Nutrition for Mamas.